Hello, my name is Marcin Ostajewski, and searching for me on the stage is futile because I am quite unavailable right now. I'm a ghost brewer, so I design recipes for several Polish craft brewers. I wanted to tell you about differences between homebrewing, craft brewing, and brewing at the macro scale, and to tell you what do we lose on the way. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, I wanted to tell you why I'm not here with you. That's mainly because the change of my haircut. I was diagnosed with seminoma, that's testis cancer. In January, the sick testis was removed, and all went well until last month. Some metastasis was detected on the computer tomography examination. So now I'm on my chemotherapy in a hospital, I think maybe 8 kilometers from the festival. I'm not able to visit you just because my immune defense is quite low right now. But still, you have to remember that seminoma is, first of all, a cancer that attacks young people. Most of the cases are between 20 and 40 years old. Most of the cases are diagnosed very late when people have metastasis in lungs and lymph nodes and so on. But still, it has a great response to chemotherapy. Most of the cases, around 95% of the people that are diagnosed at the stage of lymph nodes are cured in the first attempt to kill the cancer. So thumbs up for me and have a great day. And remember, guys, to check your balls regularly to make the self-examination. That is very, very important. Okay, to begin with, I was the co-founder and the main beer recipator for Olymp. I am responsible for roughly estimated 90 to 95% of recipes made in that brewery. Just to mention Hades, I think still the heaviest Russian Imperial Stout produced in Poland. And I think it's still available on the Olymp's stand. But then I decided to move forward to work with more people, to work as a recipe consultant or technology advisor for more than one brewery, just to meet new people, visit new places, do new things. So, when Wąsosz Brewery, an actual physical brewery located near the city of Częstochowa, offered me to work with them, I have moved there to design both labels and the contents of the craft beer line, which is called Piwo z wąsem, which means beer with mustache, and also connected with the hashtag Piwo z wąsem. All of the beers are connected with famous guys with famous mustache, just like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sean Connery, or TERRENCE, which is the real name of Hulk Hogan. So I have designed a lot of beers for them, and I was working there until the diagnosis of seminoma. In that time, I decided to launch a blog to promote Polish craft brewing as a whole abroad. So I have launched polishcraft.beer, written in English, just to encourage the foreign beer wholesalers to buy Polish beer. The blog is quite silent now, but maybe one day, who knows. And now I'm the owner of Steamcat, a one-person company that's concentrated on advising breweries, preparing recipes of the beer, helping with scaling up, and helping with beer export. Now the most important brewers that I work with are standing next to each other on the festival. Those are Warsaw and the crazy guys from Kraftwerk. So just to say hello, thanks guys for working with me. It's a pleasure. Okay, let's start with the topic. The first thing I like to tell you about is the difference between brewing at a homebrew scale and brewing beer at craft beer scale. I'm going to discuss differences in mashing, lautering, hop utilization, which is very important, cooling the beer, which is quite different, and fermentation and lagering steps. The mashing process itself isn't quite different from mashing at the homebrew scale, despite of the inertia of large amounts of liquid that has to be heated. But the lautering process is quite different just because you have to use, and luckily you are able to use highly efficient sieves to separate the wort from the mash. The biggest differences between homebrewing and brewing at larger scale are connected with the hop utilization. And those differences are mainly connected with different methods of cooling down the wort after boiling. When you cool down the beer at bigger scale, you use heat exchangers. That's why you don't cool down all the wort in one time. And that's why big amounts of liquid stay in a whirlpool where the isomerization of alpha acids from hops still occur till the last moments of cooling. So even after 40-50 minutes, the isomerization slowly occurs. That's why many homebrewers that try to make beer at bigger scale produce beers that are very excessively hopped in terms of bitterness. That's why the safest way is to calculate that the hops added whirlpool stage should be counted as those added 20 minutes before the end of boiling. When you move further to fermentation and lagering processes, brewing at bigger scale has a lot of good things that happen, mainly the strict control of the fermentation temperature and the pressure inside the tank and the overall yeast living conditions, so they can produce the beer the way that we want. But there are also problems connected with brewing at larger scale. Mainly I'm talking about the problems with dry hopping. When you dry hop at home, you dry hop at 20 degrees, 18 degrees, not a problem. When you dry hop at the bigger brewery, hops added at the lagering stage are in the beer around 1 or 2 degrees centigrade. So it's quite hard for the oils to diffuse in the liquid. But of course, you can add hops at the late fermentation stage in the fermentation tank, or use devices such as hop torpedo or other secret techniques that brewers use to utilize the hops more efficiently. I have also heard of craft brewers that can quicken the lagering stage of strong beers like Russian Imperial Stouts by infusing the beer in the lagering tank with sterile oxygen so that the beer oxidizes more quickly in a safe way. And a very old, apparently, Russian Imperial Stout could be brewed a month, 2 or 3 months ago. Okay, what do we gain when we move to bigger scale? We gain control, that's for sure. We gain greater repeatability, but still, it's not beer made by computers. But still, the most important part that we gain is meeting a lot of new people, making friends among brewers, pub owners, shop owners, and guys that just love your beer or hate your beer, but still want to talk about it with you, to share their thoughts, to share their passion about craft brewing. So I think that meeting new people is the most important part when moving to a quite big scale for a home brewer. Okay, the less pleasant part of brewing beer in bigger scale, the paperwork. Lots of paperwork you have to fill as a technologist. You have to fill papers for the duty authorities. You have to fill papers for the environmental ones. And lots of paperwork connected with product safety, food authorities, and so on and so on. You just have to do it, and it could take quite a lot. Meaning that when you work as a technologist that designs beer, checks the beer during production, and fills the papers, I think that roughly 60 to 70% of your workday is filling the papers. When I look on my LinkedIn profile on the discussion caused by an article that I have published first in Polish and then in English, which even caused several workers of SAB Miller to join the discussion. So let's now concentrate on the technological and marketing reasons for which big brands produce bland or bad beer. First of all, big brands fight for every penny because of the costs of marketing. That's why they start with ingredients. They add copious amounts of unmalted grain, of rice, of corn. They even add simple sugars just to gain some alcohol without malting and without mashing the grain. Another thing is that they avoid higher extracts just to pay lower duty tax. The next problem is the mashing design. Big brewers, just as their clients, prefer the beer to be as strong as possible from given extract, just to avoid higher costs of production, higher costs of ingredients, and higher costs of duty tax, which is mainly in almost every country based on the original extract, not on the final amount of alcohol. That's why a typical beer from big player, around 11 Plateau, contains more alcohol than a typical pale ale from craft brewers around 14. But still there's one thing that we envy. That's the efficiency of filtering and lautering that could only be achieved on big pressurized filters used by the big players. While leftovers from the mashing process in a craft brewery make perfect food for cows and pigs. Those from big players are mainly husks and traces of sugar, so they could be only fermented by bacteria. The boiling process in big players' brewery is not quite different from that in a craft one, but still it has some enhancements that I like and some enhancements that no one likes. Let's start with the good things. Yes, it's possible. There is one solution that big players use, mainly connected with the size of the brewery and size of the kettle and amounts of heat and so on and so on. They use heat exchangers in the chimneys to get back some part of the energy that they put into the process. And it's great when you look from the environmental point of view, and it's great in terms of costs. To move further, I can accept using hop extract instead of hops. That's mainly because the 100% consistency and stability of the beer is the only trait that big players can offer to the consumer. But still, they could someday add some noticeable amounts of hops or hop products in their beer. And so we reach the things that I don't like. They are mainly connected with the fermentation process. A fermentation type that is mainly boring when you use it for light beers, because all of the lagers, just look at the name, are bottom fermented by yeast that do not produce any of flavors, neither good nor bad, so the beer is bland and fucking close to water. The other bad thing that happens is the short lagering time, just because the beer is filtered at the end, so you don't have to worry about the yeast flowing inside. The lagering stage is one of the reasons why big players don't make Baltic porters and other heavier beer styles, just because it doesn't sum up. And if big players make Baltic porters, they add a lot of sugar to make it cheaper. So I leave you with a choice. I hope that you have already made it because you are here. The choice between beer made by bookkeepers and marketing guys, a watery liquid worth less than the packaging, or the beers made by people who love their job, who love their consumers, who respect them, from the guys that simply make beer for themselves and who make some money because they give you something unforgettable. So, support small producers, taste their beer today, give them feedback. Remember that they are not hiding in the factories, they are here, they are serving their best beers, and they are waiting for your opinion. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for listening, though I don't see you. I don't have my ID cards because I'm not here. So if you want to contact me in the future, just write down an email, contact me via Facebook or Twitter, and have a great day today. Drink a lot of good beer and remember to check your testes.